Okay, our first speaker of the day is Mr. Tom. Hold on a second. Let me see what. Oh, yes. Okay. I think I know why that one is there. Okay. Um, yes, our first speaker of the day is Mr. Tom Horn. Right. Honorable Mr. Tom Horn, Thomas Horn is a highly accomplished sales and business development management executive with over 2 decades of experience in the telecommunication and IoT industries across the APAC region, praising Brian Tracy's philosophy that attitude drives 80% of sales success. Mr. Thomas has cultivated a mindset of positivity, cheerfulness, and goal orientation throughout his career. His journey began in start-off where he honed his adaptability and problem-solving skills, securing high-profile clients while bootstrapping 3 ventures. His entrepreneurial spirit attracted funding from the Economic Development Board of Singapore, validating his innovative approach, transitioning to multinational corporation. Mr. Thomas excelled in sales leadership and also transitioning to excel in sales leadership and account management, earning accolades for individual and team performance. He mastered corporate structures and strategy planning, achieving over 100 million in sales. With over a decade of global exposure, he possesses a deep understanding of diverse culture and markets, facilitating effective communication and negotiation across various backgrounds. Fluent in multiple languages like English and Spanish and others, Mr. Thomas leveraged a linguistic power to build meaningful network and engage stakeholders globally. His core competency lie in problem solving, entrepreneurial mindset, and team leadership, making him a valuable asset in driving business growth and fostering collaborative success, and many more. So permit me now to welcome Honorable Mr. Thomas Horn to be our first speaker this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Queen, for the detailed introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, to where you are from. My name is Thomas Hoon. I'm a Singaporean who is currently based in Guangdong, China for the past 12 years. So I specialize in connecting business opportunities between China and Southeast Asia. And I have held key roles with companies in US, UK, Finland, Korea, Japan, Israel, as well as owning business in Thailand, Philippines, China, and Singapore. So today, I'm very honored to be invited to this show to talk about conflict management. So what is conflict management? Of course, conflict management, there's many aspects. We are talking about your personal aspects of conflict management. We are talking about business aspects. So there's a lot of experts which are really talking about the personal aspects. So today I'm just going to talk about conflict management in workplace. So let's face it, conflict management is part of life, especially in the workplace. Whether we are working with a team, collaborating with clients, or managing projects, disagreements are bound to happen. It's human nature after all, because we are all unique in our own right with different goals, different perspective and approaches. But here's one thing you need to note. Conflict doesn't mean to be a bad thing. Many people see it as something to avoid or suppress. But that's the wrong approach in my personal opinion. Because conflict, when handled well, conflict can actually be a powerful tool for growth, innovation, and understanding. So in this masterclass, we're going to dive into the world of workplace conflict. We're going to explore its nature, why it happened, how it can show up in different forms. And more importantly, I'll introduce a framework for you to I beg your pardon, to convert this conflict manage into value opportunities for personal and organization development. So, first of all, understanding core of workplace conflict management. When we talk about workplace conflict, it's important to know that it's not a one-size-fits-all issue. At its most basic, it happens when two or more people have different goals, different views, or ways of doing things. But it's like when two ideas doesn't align, maybe it's about strategy, maybe it's about priorities, or even how a work should be done. But the truth is, conflict comes from complexity of human nature, our different values, our communication styles, personalities, personal experience. And the key point is conflict isn't always bad. So there's two sides of workplace conflict management we're going to talk about. A healthy conflict management or a healthy conflict. So when conflict is managed well, it can be an incredible force. A healthy conflict can look like people talk openly without fear of judgment. It can spark new ideas and creative solutions. It encourages people with different perspectives and challenges old ways of thinking. And it pushes organization forward by driving innovation. That's the positive side of conflict. But what about the negative side? On the flip side, when conflict is mismanaged, it can turn into toxic, or it can turn very toxic and undermine the entire team. So a destructive conflict will look like people getting emotionally charged, communication breakdown. I no longer want to talk to you, and collaboration becomes impossible. And some people, instead of resolving these issues, people start getting personals. Hey, you are stupid. Hey, this is not the way to think. Let me show the way. So it becomes very destructive.
Mm.
So the warning signs to watch out for. When the disagreement shifts from professional to personal, when communication becomes aggressive or disrespectful, or when people stop listening and start reacting emotionally. This is the kind of conflict that leads to burnout. This is the kind of conflict that leads to disengagement and even long-term dysfunctional in the workplace. So, why does this conflict happens? Because of miscommunication. A lot of conflict starts with simple misunderstanding. For example, I might send an email to my colleague and say, let's discuss this later. But when the person receives this email, hearing that I say I want to discuss this later, he or she might think that, oh, I do not take importance of this particular issue. I think that is not important to him. So he became angry. So even small issues like this can become a conflict. Another example, when a manager tells an employee, this report is urgent. So being an employee, especially when a manager order you to do something, you will probably drop everything and prioritize. But the problem is there's many different interpretation to the word urgent. It can be immediately 2 hours later, it could be 2 days later, or it could be 1 week later. So clear communication would have avoided that frustration from the employee.
Mm.
So there's also personality differences. We all have different communication styles, temperaments, and ways of working. A fast-paced, outgoing person might clash with someone who is reserved and detail-oriented. In a workplace, example that I can give is, I'm a salesperson, so I always love quick decisions, quick movement. But sometimes I get frustrated when I'm trying to close a deal. The finance manager or the CFO will come to me and say, let's take it slow. Maybe perhaps we should analyze the risks and look at every detailed aspects of this particular sale before making a move. Another, that's how another conflict could happen within an organization. Of course, there's work style clashes. Some people like to work individually. Some people like to work as a team. Some people like structure and planning. Others thrive in more flexible and spontaneous environment. So when these styles don't align, problems can pop up.
Mm.
Competing priorities. When different departments on team members focus on different goals, I beg your pardon, conflict can arise. So one team may be pushing for fast results, like what I'm doing in sales, while the other team might want you just to do things, get it right. So for example, HR might want to implement flexible working arrangements for all employees. But as operation manager, I need all my manpower to be on site for my service to be efficiency. So such things, competing priorities can lead to another conflict. And last but not least, of course, every organization has a budget. So when teams are competing for this budget or these limited resources, conflict is bound to happen. So as you can see, conflict can happen in an organization in many different ways. And how do we resolve conflict? Handling a conflict at work is like solving a puzzle. You need the right steps to get it right.
Mm.
So here's a 4 simple framework that I recommend, which should help you navigate conflicts effectively. First of all, acknowledge there's conflict. Because ignoring a conflict doesn't make a conflict go away. It only grows bigger. So the first thing you need to do is address in a calm and neutral way. So when your manager actually say, okay, instead of telling your staffs you always miss deadlines, perhaps you can say to him or her, I noticed some delays. Can we talk about what's causing them? Can I understand what's slowing you down? Is there anything that could help? So the goal here is to open the conversation without blaming anybody.
Mm.
Secondly, listen to understand, not to respond. A big reason why conflict escalate is because people listen to argue, not to understand. Rather than jumping in with a rebuttal, practice active listening. Listen to people talking, listen to and try to understand where the person is coming from. So another example, if someone says, I feel like my ideas are not valued, instead of replying, that's not true, which probably puts him in the defensive position, you can say, I hear that you feel overlooked. Can you share more about what's been happening? So by saying this, changing the way how you communicate, this actually let the other person feel heard, feel, and you get to the root of the issue. Of course, thirdly, you must always find a common ground. Remember, conflict isn't about winning. It's about aligning both your goals so that you both of you have a common goal, a bigger picture, and how to get things done. Because we want both of you to succeed. So finding a common goal can transform a conflict into a collaborative effort. And last but not least, you must always agree on the next steps. A conversation without action doesn't resolve anything.
Mm.
But once you discuss the issue, it's important to agree on specific steps moving forward. So maybe you could tell your colleague or your reporting line, let's set up a weekly check-in to stay on page and prevent any misunderstanding. So by agreeing on clear next steps, you create accountability. You ensure that the conflict doesn't pop back up again in the future. Of course, I've introduced you the framework on how to resolve conflicts, but there's also some of conflict in a conflict resolution. So like I mentioned, first of all, don't avoid the issue because it will never go away. It will just snowball and become bigger.
Mm.
Second of all, never blame others. Make it a common ground for everybody. Don't blame others. Don't say, this is your fault. This is not mine. And also, don't bring up past conflicts. Oh, you did that the last time. You're doing this again. Because it's tempting. It's human nature. It can be tempting to bring up old issues if something similar happens again. But doing that doesn't resolve the problem. Instead, in fact, it has a snowball effect, making it bigger. So I would like to wrap up. The If there's anything you want to take away, this is what I want you to know. First of all, conflict isn't the problem. Poor conflict management is. Use the four-step framework that I introduced you. Acknowledge, listen, find common ground, and agree on the next steps. And avoid common mistakes like ignoring the issue, blaming on others, dwelling on the past. The best leaders don't avoid conflict. The best leaders manage conflict, and they see this as an opportunity to grow and bring people together. So the next time you find yourself in a disagreement, ask yourself, how can I turn this conflict into an opportunity for growth? With this, I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mr. Thomas Hoon from Singapore, but presently in China. We really appreciate you for joining us for these 2 days to teach us valuable on conflict resolution, which is very, very important when we're building or maintaining any relationship, either personally or professionally. And I believe that we've been learned a lot, and we are going to apply it to our relationship so that we can get on with others, because relationship is very, very important in this life. And if we don't tackle the issues, it's like we are making it worse. So, but for us to transform our relationship with anyone, conflict resolution is one of the skills that we need to know better. And you've elaborated it with us since yesterday, and we want to say thank you so much for your time. Feel free to relax and stay with us as we continue with our next teaching. Thank you, sir.